Hey guys, so we are here in Dubai at COP28. I'm representing Uganda for sustainable energy and what we do in Uganda to improve green energy and reduce our carbon footprint. And I'm super excited to be speaking and representing a beautiful country like Uganda along with Nexus Green and our initiatives and what we're doing there.
Your Highness, Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, dear colleagues and friends, welcome to the United Arab Emirates, welcome to Abu Dhabi, and welcome to the pre-COP. This gathering has brought together 70 ministers and 100 delegations from all over the world. COP28 must deliver a robust global stocktake with a strong mitigation outcome. COP28 must deliver a comprehensive adaptation agreement and groundbreaking solutions on finance. This includes delivering on the fund and funding arrangements for loss and damage.
Excellencies, the climate challenge is not just another issue in your inbox. Protecting our climate is the world's greatest test of leadership. And so I urge you to lead. Humanity's fate hangs in the balance. Make this COP count. Make this COP a game changer. Make this COP the newer hope in the future of humankind.
70% of energy-related greenhouse gas emissions actually come from cities. 80 C40 cities, and for those who don't know, C40 is a network of cities, of almost 100 cities working on climate change. 80 C40 cities already have transition plans in line with the Paris Agreement. 75% of C40 cities are cutting their emissions faster than their national governments. Cities are at the front line of the climate crisis. City mandates mean that they are the first responders very often to the floods, to the fires, to the droughts, to the impacts of climate change. And given that they are also the source of so much of the emissions, it simply makes sense for us to have cities as part of the solution. We as cities are grateful, and not just grateful, excited to offer our commitment, our ambition to the global climate space, to the global climate movement, and know that that will take us forward as a group.
It is time for every nation to embed nature-positive investments in their national climate strategies. It is time for well-funded and strategic national adaptation plans. And it is time for every nation to sign COP28's declaration on food systems and health.
Some important progress has been made, but it worries me greatly that we remain so dreadfully far off track, as the Global Stocktake report demonstrates so graphically. The dangers are no longer distant risks. I have seen across the Commonwealth and beyond countless communities which are unable to withstand repeated shocks, whose lives and livelihoods are laid waste by climate change.
Bringing together the transport and the energy sector is fundamental. Transport needs to reduce its energy demand, needs to use other types of fuels to power how we move people and goods around the world, and the energy sector needs to provide secure energy, different sources of energy to the transport sector. The energy sector needs also to go deeper into making certain type of infrastructure available. When we think about land transport, for instance, what we need is charging infrastructure for electric vehicles. Bringing these two sectors together is going to really multiply the strategies, but it's also going to multiply the economic, the environmental, and the societal benefits that we're going to see coming from that.
Any idea, since you're talking transport, how big it is, and this is such a large COP, how big a carbon footprint is the emissions of the 100,000 people coming here? How many of them are private jets? What kind of effect do having these COPs have on the planet? And is it time to start doing much of this virtually?
So I think that, like in any big conferences, there's pros and cons. I cannot give you the figure of the footprint. I would love to know it myself, personally, of course, but I think that we probably need to put things into perspective. And I don't think there is a COP once a year, the responsible source for the fifth of CO2 emissions that transport represents globally. What it is responsible for those emissions is the fact that on a daily basis, around the globe, people cannot go into public transport. The average access to public transport around the globe is around 50%. But when you go regionally, for instance, in places like in Asia or in Africa, it's going to be 36% of population, max, who are going to have access to public transport. Whereas me, where I live in Europe, 96% of us are going to have access. That is what is really going to reduce the footprint. And what is going to reduce the footprint in terms of how we move goods around the globe is to go more intermodal, is to be able to put those goods in different modes of transport as they make all the way from the production place to the place where they are consumed. And a lot that we have to do there, for instance, is on railways, is on really making a combination of electrified heavy-duty transport on roads with electrified railways. With that, we could be plummeting the CO2 emissions from transporting goods around the globe.
You made a comment about brave cities, city being brave. When they do actions to reduce car footprints, including less cycle lanes, public transport, they face massive backlash. Why is that? And what can be done to avoid this backlash that's often fueled by populism, which is hindering progress clearly?
When a mayor takes the very difficult political decision of saying that I'm going to reduce, the type of cars that can go in the center of my town, and some of them are already doing it for trucks even, for freight, it's really a tough political decision. It requires a lot of courage. You can only do that if you bring your population along.
Just days ago, I was on the melting ice of Antarctica. Not long before, I was among the melting glaciers of Nepal. These two spots are far in distance, but united in crisis. Polar ice and glaciers are vanishing before our eyes, causing a havoc the world over, from landslides and floods to rising seas. But this is just one symptom of the sickness bringing our climate to its knees. A sickness only you, global leaders, can cure.
Having cities, having local stakeholders, having local communities in this process is one of the key elements to advance in an accelerated way. And we need to celebrate that. From a UN Habitat perspective, we are hopeful that we will continue, we will keep this process, and we will keep the key action of local authorities contributing to the process.
And now, more than ever, we need to unite on climate and deliver a clear message of hope, a message of solidarity, stability, and prosperity.
Unless we rapidly repair and restore nature's unique economy based on harmony and balance, which is our ultimate sustainer, our own economy and survivability will be imperiled. We are carrying out a vast, frightening experiment of changing every ecological condition all at once, at a pace that far outstrips nature's ability to cope.
If we succeed in coming together now, we have a huge opportunity in front of all of us. We can reimagine entire economies and put every nation on the path to a prosperous and sustainable future.
Uganda for me, being now my home, It's a great opportunity to keep investing. You can see the trajectory just by buildings around you going up. You can see how people are more conscious about going green. I mean, you know, Nissan from Motorcare, you know, he's investing a hell of a lot of money in bringing electric vehicles. And I'm hoping our colleagues are doing more about having charging stations to convert their big Toyota 4x4s to EV, because we can reduce our carbon footprint by, you know, just the inner city driving. You know, we're all bad at it, and you know, Uganda, we need to see how we all can collaborate. I feel like sometimes we all work in silos a little bit, and I'm just listening to these gentlemen here, and I'm thinking, you know, we can actually sit here and actually create an ecosystem amongst each other.
Our business model is pretty simple, is that we are working with the local key stakeholders, communities, public sector and private sector on one side, and as well we are working with international investors, you know, with whom we want to convince that Uganda is the right place actually to invest a lot of equity.
What is the current solar potential and its immediate impact on the global landscape?
Uganda is an absolute epicenter for the solar business. You're on the equator, you have an average of 6 hours of sunlight with very little clouding. So for us as an investor, as Nexus Green, it made so much sense, especially with the kind of transmission and the distribution that we're lacking currently. Solar is essentially the answer to clean energy and consistency.
If you look at Uganda's current CO2 emissions, somewhere in the region of about 90 million metric tons per annum of CO2, 80% of that, 85% of that is related to the burning of biomass. And the biomass burning is firewood and a bit of charcoal is meeting the energy needs of people that need to cook, right? So let's just start from that basis. Now, what does that mean for us as Uganda? It means we've seen a massive rate of deforestation. We've gone from 23% forest cover as a nation in 1990 down to 9% in 2010, and we're now heading back up in about 2020, we're back up about 13%, although a lot of that is plantation type of forestry.
What we've been doing is, you know, solar irrigation on a mass scale. So we're currently under a UK export finance project, blanketing the whole country with 687 irrigation sites, full turnkey, which is worth about 101 million euros. We're doing another 100 million in phase 2. And with that, it's springboard Nexus Green to also invest heavily in the manufacturing part of the business. So next year, by Q3, we would have invested about $10 million in a manufacturing plant, which would be the first of its kind in East Africa. What we've just launched recently is the C&I business, which a lot of blue chip companies, they want consistency in energy during the day, because some who are manufacturing, that slight blip recalibrates that whole production line, which essentially, when they have to recycle, let's say, water tanks, they've got to recycle it, check the integrity of the tank again, and the person that suffers is the end user. So by using solar energy, you're reducing all that kind of blip in the system, you're using clean energy, and it reduces the carbon footprint, and we all have a responsibility, right?
In 2050, our grandchildren won't be asking what we said, they will be living with the consequences of what we did or didn't do. So if we act together to safeguard our precious planet, the welfare of all our people will surely follow. The indigenous worldview teaches us that we are all connected, not only as human beings, but with all living things and all that sustains life. As part of this grand and sacred system, harmony with nature must be maintained. The earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth.
That the COP28's presidency's energy package is only the beginning. Because I do believe in inclusivity. And I do believe that if we were to bring everyone on board, we will be able to address this challenge head on by capitalizing on the science and by capitalizing on their capabilities, engineering capability, their science capability, their access, their technology, their financial capability, their reach, their ability to manage complex projects, I believe that they can help fast track this transition.
What a day, hey. Whew, as you can see, it's dark, it's lovely and cool here in Dubai. Just did my speech on the panel, and honestly, UIA smashed it. They've done such a great job in Uganda, getting people like me to essentially invest millions of dollars in Uganda, and it makes so much sense. I mean, solar industry in Uganda is right now going to be the biggest industry. So I actually invite all other investors to invest in solar. It will bring down the price, we can all work together, and we can make this into such a big hub in East Africa. So thanks UIA for inviting me. Special thanks to Robert and the chairman of UIA, and thank you to the government of Uganda for inviting me. I am so proud to be here at COP28. Catch you later. Bye.